This is Get Your Shift Together with Michelle Ferrari and Jordan Harding. Michelle is on a mission to support you on your leadership journey. As an executive and leadership coach, she wants to show you that you can have the impact and the career that you want by aligning your thoughts, your choices, and your actions with your goals, not only to benefit yourself, but the world. It's time to get your shift together.
Here we are back in 2023. I guess we're not back in 2023. We are in 2023. I'm with Michelle Ferrari on Get Your Shift Together, and we've got a excellent group of episodes coming up. Our friend Matt Hayes, shout out to Matt, is helping us put these together. And for the listener, we want to make 2023 the best year of your life, right? And so, you know, what Michelle and I hope to do is give you a glimpse into the practice, which is a program Michelle and team are building. And we want to give you a glimpse into the world of one-on-one coaching, because the reality is that, you know, putting financial means and resources aside, Michelle wants to make sure, and we want to make sure that this advice, these questions, these thoughts are available to everyone, because, you know, we're hoping that if you can make this the best year of your life, that just makes us as a society all the much better. And, you know, so we're going to give you a glimpse into that one-on-one coaching that I've been fortunate to receive, and others have been fortunate to receive. So Michelle, welcome to the new year. How are you?
I am fantastic as I sit in Puerto Vallarta, Mexico, because I kick off my new year in the sun-drenched country of Mexico, which is, you know, maybe something I shouldn't be boasting about here, and yet part of me really wants to. So I'm amazing. Okay, so I have a pet peeve, because I don't want us to sound like, if you sign up, you're going to have the most incredible year of your life. Okay, like that was my Tony Robbins impression. And I love Tony Robbins. Let me be super, super clear. That's not my shtick. And I don't know if you'll have the best year of your life. What I know is you will have a better year than last year. And then every year that you choose to dance with us, you'll have a better year than last year. I just like to, you know, nobody in my friend group will believe this, but I like to tone it down a touch in terms of the guarantees that we're offering. That's all I'm saying.
No, we're not offering any guarantees. You just can enjoy in the journey, and you can dance with us whether you like or not. And I think it's all about that journey. And we're not guaranteeing the best year of your life. We don't even know what's going to happen in 2023, right?
No, because you well know from the one-on-one coaching, and as my clients say to me, and thank God I have a thick skin, sort of, it's a total facade. They love me, hate me, because sometimes the journey is not unicorn and lollipop. Sometimes what the best year of your life entails is sitting in the quagmire and just going, what the fuck is happening? And then a personal coach would say, yeah, you got to sit in it. You can't run away from it. You just got to be in the muck. And that's not going to feel like the best year of your life, but it'll be the best thing that ever happened to you. Okay, now I've scared people. You talk, and I'm just going to nod and smile, because I'm scaring the tar out of people is what I'm doing. So
I think you're just bringing the reality to it. You know, it's about sitting in that awkwardness, or sitting in the uncomfortable.
Sitting in the uncomfortable, looking at yourself in the mirror, looking at your relationships, looking at your work, listening to the voices that say, this is what you got to do. And then most of us, you know, eat a bag of chips so that we drown out the voice. I've heard people do that. I have never personally done that, but I've heard people have done that.
Mine's an ice cream. Michelle, without giving any guarantees though, what do you hope people get out of doing a life audit and following us along through this journey? Like if we're thinking to the end of this series of 5 episodes or whatever,
Yeah.
number of episodes, what do you hope people get from a life audit or career audit?
When we went into the pandemic, this doesn't make me a genius, by the way, because many people said this, but I knew that towards the end of the pandemic, that's when the shit was really going to hit the fan. And that is what we're in right now. So as you know, as much as most of us don't have restrictions and we're moving about the world, and the impact of everything that happened to us over those 2 years is now coming to light. And we have residual effects. Just, look at the economy. And that is what it is. Like, stuff is happening. Some stuff is not great. A lot of stuff is not great. And what I want people to take away from this is, it doesn't matter what's happening outside of your inner world. It doesn't matter if your boss is a dick. It doesn't matter if your neighbors are ignorant. It doesn't matter if bad stuff is happening. What matters is who you decide to be, regardless of the circumstances of your life. Now, some people are going to hear that. And I can hear the yells coming through the phone. You don't know what's happening yeah, I do. I do know. I have lived it, and it is awful. And I see you, and it doesn't have to be the worst year of your life. It can be a good year, regardless of what's going on. Even if you've lost your job, it can still be a good year. And I want people to start to wake up to that. And hopefully we will teach them how to do that a little bit, or share with them how to make that happen, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. And I think you hit it on the head. Like with this audit we're going to do, it's about, moving in the right direction, making it a good year. It does not by any means. You don't even have to have the goal of it's going to be the best year, because then you get in a whole conversation. What does the best look like? And then I'm not going to have a good year after that. So it's about the journey. And I think you've said before, if I want X, what choice moves me to X? And that's what we hope we're going to be able to help you achieve.
Yeah, look, I'm a big fan of the analogy of journey, because that's what it is. Our time here, regardless of what your belief system is a journey. And what I want people to understand, doesn't matter what you're struggling with. What I want you to understand is that you have way more power and way more choice in terms of how that journey feels and what it looks like. And somewhere along the way, we've lost the plot line. And we think that circumstances create the experience of the journey. And folks, no, just full stop, hashtag no. It's about this. It's about what you're creating in here. It's about what you're allowing to happen in here, and the choices that you make. And I just, I hope we give people a glimpse that they can take back some of their power. That's my wish for 2023, because you and I've talked about this a lot. We talked about this with Matt Hayes a lot. Here's what makes my year. And I remember this when I started my coaching business just over 10 years ago. Being of service to people.
Mm-hmm.
So I had a long career as an executive in a few different industries. And God damn it, like I would come home and I would just be drained, and then like not be able to sleep, and then having to get up the next morning and going, oh my God, here we go again. And it just made me lifeless. Like it just wasn't, I was good at it. I was good at my jobs. But I wasn't happy. And then I found coaching, and then I started my own coaching business, probably 10 years after I found coaching. And I remember one day in particular, I ran up the stairs clapping, and I'd had I think 5 clients. And I ran up the stairs clapping, full of energy, full of life. And I was talking out loud, and I was like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. That was such a great day. And I was like, wow. And then I collapsed on the bed and I was exhausted. And I just thought that this is unbelievable. And then when I sat back and thought, okay, how did this happen? Like, why am I here? It was about systematic choices that I had made. And let me be clear, some of them scared the shit out of me. And it allowed me to just fly. And I want that for people. I want that for people. The joy was people felt better after talking. People felt better after zeroing in on what they needed to zero in on. And I call myself a weed whacker. And Jordan, I think I've said this before, like I get a lot of people who are like, oh my God, it's so great, Michelle, and you've helped me so much. And thank you so much for everything that you've done. And I'm like, I haven't done anything. I literally came in and I took off the layer of crud that was on top of what you already knew that you needed to do. I just made you look at it.
Yeah.
I just held my head and said, no, you know what you need to do. I don't tell people what to do and what steps to take. I make them look at what they already know. And the more people that we can help do that, Jordan, I can't imagine a greater way of being in the world. So it's amazing. Amazing.
It's amazing. Yeah. Well, and I think now, okay, Michelle, the crud remover Ferrari, that's where we're going with this year. And for those that didn't know, when Michelle was like, hey, it's up here. If you're not watching this on YouTube, she was pointing to her head. At first, I didn't know if you were pointing to your hair. And I'm like, well, I don't have any of that. So how am I going to know what's up there? But no, I was like, weed whacker, where are you going with that? But it makes so much sense. Michelle, when you think of when you step into the new year and think of like a life career audit, where do you take your clients with it? And I don't know whether you want to talk about where you take your clients with it or where you take yourself with it. Where does somebody start?
Well, they're both the same. So, and I hold myself to this standard. I'm not, as a coach, I believe that I need to practice and use the tools that I offer up to clients. And it begins with, we talked about the practice, and the practice is going to be based around 4 C's. I love structure. Jordan's actually laughing his head off.
And apparently you love the letter C, I suppose, as well, eh?
I do that. What do they call that? Is that alliteration? Oh,
yes, I think it is.
We're going to have all the English teachers. My sister's an English teacher. The 4 C's, it's consciousness, creation, choice, and cultivate. Okay, so you'll look forward to that. That was foreshadowing, people. But the year begins for me actually back in the old year. So around November, I start thinking about my next year. And I have my clients do the same. So what do you want if you ported yourself to the end of 2023? What would you want to be able to say about the year? So stand in December of 2023, and what would you want to be able to say about that? Now, some people are like, I don't know. And then what we do is we say, okay, let's do a review of 2022 first. Because the thing that I know, Jordan, this just actually happened yesterday. If she's listening, she'll know that I'm talking about her. It breaks my heart to see how hard people are on themselves. So I have a whole thing with social media and how toxic people are on social media and how it's breaking down society. Here's my theory. That is just a reflection of the inner toxicity of most of us. And that inner toxicity begins with what we say to ourselves about ourselves. And it's horrid. So that the fact that the world functions with how hard people are on themselves. And let me be clear, I'm a high-end coach, right? I'm not the $75, $100 an hour coach. I'm a high-end coach, meaning you basically, by societal standards, have to have made it in order to afford me. And I am continually shocked, and not, because it's across the board, men and women, doesn't matter how successful you are, how hard people are on themselves. And they've made it, but they still don't think of themselves in kind ways. They don't acknowledge what they've already accomplished. And most of us, not all of us, most of us have that mindset. And so when you're looking back at your year, people, this is what I want you to do. Odds are you're going to make a list of all the shit you didn't do, of all the mistakes you made, of all of the ways that you're embarrassed, angry, frustrated with yourself that you didn't do. And so if you're doing this from a work perspective, you know, you didn't stick up for yourself. You didn't, you weren't the catalyst at work. You sat and took it. You weren't the change. If you're doing this for your life, it's, you know, the 20 pounds you didn't lose, even though you said that you were going to, and you tried 3 diets this year. It's that you snapped at your kids. It's, you didn't make time for your relationship, right?
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, we've had this discussion many times. I am a leadership coach, and that means people hire me from a business perspective.
Yes.
But the reality is you're not one person at work and one person at home. And so even though I don't like the term life coach, and I'm really sorry for everybody that is a life coach, I don't like it. If we're coaching your career, we're coaching your life.
Yes.
Because your career is part of your life. So this applies regardless of what point aspect of your life you're trying to look at. You're going to start with the disappointment in yourself. 98.9% of people speak to me from the perspective of disappointment.
Wow. 98%.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And again, like I work with people who make $1 million a year, who make $2 million a year, who like, you know, by those outside standards, the people that you're walking on the street and you're going, oh, I wish I could be them. Those are the types of people that I talk to, and they have the same dialogues in their head that you and I do.
Mm-hmm.
So that's okay. That's okay. You can start with all the disappointment, but I want you to write that down.
Write down the disappointment.
I want you to write, because
Okay.
I want to get it out of your head, and I want it out of here where it takes up a lot of room. Like when we let those thoughts dance in our head, those thoughts turn up the music, they take over the party, and it's just like they stay there. It's like having an upstairs
Yeah,
neighbor.
that's true.
constantly
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And you want your neighbor to shut off the noise. Well, how do we get our brain to shut off? We take it out of the brain and we put it down on a piece of paper in your computer and just list the disappointments and frustrations of your life.
It's almost like how, sorry to interrupt, it's like how if you're on Spotify and you listen to the same songs over and over, just like you're telling yourself the same thing over and over. Next thing you know, it's the recommendation on Spotify, and that's all you listen to. That's kind of the same analogy.
Yeah, you know what it is for me right now? Miley Cyrus Flowers. Okay. Apparently that's the
Wow.
only listening to, and it's hilarious. So that's okay. So write that down. Look at it. Take a breath. I know this sounds ridiculous, but it's not. I want you to look at it and I want you to take a breath. Just take a breath. Just be with that. Just be with it. Let's just, right? It's been in your head.
I'm taking a breath right now.
Right? We'll give everybody a chance. And then I want you to draw a line beside that list. And then I want you to write down the opposite of whatever it was that you wrote down. So if you wrote down, I was lazy at work, I didn't try hard enough at work, what's the opposite of that? If you wrote down, I'm fat, I didn't lose 20 pounds, what's the opposite of that? If you wrote down, I didn't spend enough time with my kids, I wasn't a good parent, particularly mothers. Mothers, I see you, working mothers in particular, mothers in general. Oh my God, the guilt that you all carry around, but working mothers in particular, that you guys are carrying around hundreds of pounds of weight on your back, and what you've done and put up with and how you showed up is, in my opinion, miraculous. And yet all of you are just burdened with, I'm not enough. And so if you wrote down, I'm not a good enough mother, I didn't give my kids enough time, or I flew off the handle too much, what's the opposite of that? What you have there, ladies and gentlemen, is the beginning of what you want to create in 2023. So the things that you're constantly beating yourself up about, excuse me, are really the things that you're yearning for. We just like to talk to ourselves in toxic languaging. I think we've learned how to talk to ourselves in toxic languaging. And then that's the tape that we have running in our head. Even if it's something, the world is against me, nothing ever goes my way. Nothing ever goes my way. I have the worst luck. What's the opposite of that? Because whatever tape you're allowing to play in your head is the reality that you are creating. And this isn't some like namaste, everybody, come together and sing Kumbaya, although I really love that stuff. This is science. This is how your brain works. What you program into your brain, whether you do it unconsciously or consciously, your brain is going to ignore everything else, and it's going to look for the evidence to support the programming. That's how the brain works. Now, all you neuroscientists, because, I think hundreds of thousands of neuroscientists are listening to the podcast, because we are super famous. Don't come for me. I am simplifying. I am simplifying how the brain works, okay? I'm simplifying it. So whatever you program, that's what you're going to get. So I just want you, at the beginning of your audit, step one of the audit is, what is my programming? What's happening in there? And how we do that is we get it down on paper. And we'll talk more about consciousness in our next podcast, because that's what it's called. It's coming to consciousness. Consciousness is one of my favorite words.
So that's kind of the practice, if you're looking at it for the next few weeks, it would be writing down the stuff you didn't do, and then making a list of all those positive or things that were kind of a win along your journey, and making sure you're programming your brain to understand all of those things that you did that were a success in the past year. Is that correct?
Well, yes, but you're sort of skipping to step 2. So it is sitting in the things that you believe you didn't do, because one of the things,
Okay.
I don't believe in good and bad emotions. I don't believe in negative and positive emotions. And we are taught that there are good emotions and that there are bad emotions. And I fundamentally believe that there are emotions. And each emotion, each feeling is meant to give you something. It's meant to point you towards something. So if you're talking to yourself from this toxic place of, I'm not enough, I didn't do this well enough, I didn't do that well enough, I didn't follow through on that goal, I didn't do, right? If blah, 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 blah. Those are simply neon signs pointing you in the direction of what you do want. It's unfortunate that it comes up as the I'm not enough, I didn't do this well enough, I didn't, right? It's unfortunate. But sit in it, because that is the door to you understanding what it is that you really do want. And so you can't run from those emotions. You can't run from the so-called negative emotions, the sadness, the frustration, the rage. Be with it, understand it. That's where an audit begins. What's going on in that brain of mine? And then it's another C word. I'm going to have to work this into the practice. And then you want to get curious about it. Why am I so angry? Why am I so sad? Why am I so frustrated? I had a conversation early this morning. I won't name her. If she does listen to this, she will know who it is as well. And she said to me, I hate people. Good morning to you too. Okay, why? Why? What's there? And just sit with it versus judging yourself for it. Right? Because we become the judge. We become Judge Judy. The minute we have a negative emotion, we then layer on that and go, well, I'm a terrible person because I hate people, or I don't like my boss, or I think my colleagues are lazy, or, and we start to judge ourselves. And then what you really need to do is go, what is that? What's happening? Then you do the opposite of that. Okay. So if I'm really mad at myself because I didn't speak up enough in meetings. Okay. What's the opposite of that? Once you have that second part of the list, then you move to what you said, which is, well, there's no way I never did it. So where did I speak my mind? If speaking my mind is super important to me, where did I speak my mind? You're going to consciously try. Are you ready for this? This is groundbreaking stuff. You're going to consciously try to be kind to yourself.
Consciously try to be kind to yourself.
Yeah.
I've got it. Michelle, I want to ask you, because people, the listener, might be curious. This year, you have your one-on-one coaching, you're going to launch the practice, you're doing this podcast and creating this content. You don't have to be speaking to people on this podcast about a life or career audit, right? You've got your business set up. You don't have to do this. We don't have to do this. Why is it important to you, for the listener, to get this information across to anyone that's willing to listen? Why do you want to do it?
Okay. Wow. You are right. So like on my coaching roster, I don't actually have room for people. And I have been blessed that has been true every year. I get a ton, all my businesses from referrals, and I get people who are saying, do you have space to work with me? And often I don't. So you're right. I don't have to be doing this, except I do have to be doing this because the more people that hear about these tools, and the more people that take even a tiny crumb away, the more we are working to make a world that we can all be proud of. And I know that that's big. I know that's a, that's a big statement. But what I fundamentally believe to be true is that each of us getting up in the morning and creating the world that we want, the life that we want, if we each did that, the world would be an incredible place. There are so many things that we have to be grateful for, and that, really good stuff is happening in the world. And yet we're in this quagmire of shit most of the time. And if we could shift the focus and just have each of us, billions of people, I'm getting big, billions of people just saying, how can I make my world better today? My tiny space. How can I make my world? I'm not going to expect anyone to do it for me. I'm not going to wait for someone else to lead. I'm going to lead my life where I want it to go. I'm going to be the leader of my own life. Well, I get to go to bed with a big smile on my face if I know one person or 10 people or 1 million people start to take that step. I get to go to bed with a smile on my face, because that's what we need in the world. We need a way through the shit. Like
It's true.
We're slogging in the swamp. And I want to support people in that journey. My greatest life's calling is to support people in their journey. The reason I can run up the stairs at night clapping is because I supported somebody in the crud removal and they smiled and they had hope and they took a step towards creating the life they wanted. For me, Jordan, it's in my soul, right? It's my life's work. It's my calling. And I've talked about this with you many, many times. And I say this to my clients. I'm not going to tell you anything original.
Mm-hmm.
I am not the creator of a lot of the philosophies and ideas that I offer up to people, or the tools. I've created some of the tools to be my own, but this isn't, oh my God, Michelle's the second coming of Christ. Thank God she's here. There are many people who have this information. And once you have the information, you want other people to understand that the world doesn't have to happen to you. You can make it happen for you. And I don't care if you're Brene Brown or Tony Robbins or Betty from Minnesota. Once you understand the tools that are available to you to make your life the way you want it, you become passionate about making sure as many people have it and being of service, right? I don't think there's anything greater in the world than to be of service. That's my truth. It doesn't have to be everybody else's, but it's certainly my truth.
And as we go through, I was going to say, as we go through these episodes, we'll get more into that and speak about duality. But I think it's very powerful as to why you want to do this, the excitement we're going to create. Again, we hope that we create a good life journey for you in 2023. And we don't want to sit here being like, oh, it's going to be the best year you ever had, but let's just make it a little better. What's the step forward? What's the progress? And I think to finish this first episode, Michelle, what is the practice? And we've said it, I think it's sitting with those things that you didn't do. Is that what you wanted people to focus on for the next week or two?
Yeah. So here's the exercise. Okay. So, and I love what Jordan just did, because life is a practice. Your job is a practice. It's a practice. And so when you come into a concept, do not aim for perfection of the concept, aim for practice of the concept. So your practice is, if you accept it, you're going to begin your audit. And a path in that we've discussed today is to start with last year. If you can, write down the good and the bad, if you can. But many of us don't have a path in from the good because we're not thrilled with everything that we did. But if you have that, then have at it. Write down the good. If you're one of those people, one of those common people that starts with, I didn't do this and I didn't do that and I gave up on this and I should have, right? I want you to take it out of your head and I want you to get it down on a piece of paper or in your computer. Flush your system. I want you to get it out. I want you to look at it. I want you to spend at least 15 minutes with that stuff. Just look at it. Just be with it. See what comes up. Some of you will cry. Some of you will get mad. Some of you will dismiss it. Some of you will spend 2 minutes with it and then run away. Just be with it and notice what happens for you. Okay, step one. Step two, draw a line down your page. And then whatever it is that you've written down there, what is the opposite? So if it's, I didn't use my voice at work, I let people use me. What's the opposite of that? If it's, I didn't continue my exercise regime past January 2nd, what is the opposite of that? That's what there's a calling there. There's something that you're meant to pay attention to. And then I just want you to sit with that. So you're going to do a list and you're going to sit with it. And then you're going to do another list and then you're going to sit with it. That's it. It's 30 minutes of your life.
That's it. 30 minutes of your life. And, thank you for tuning into this episode, Michelle. It's always great to see you, and we'll be back with more.
Can't wait.
What did you take away from our chat today? We'd love to know. You can follow Michelle Ferrari on Instagram at MichelleFerrari01 or visit her website, michelleferrari.org. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to follow Get Your Shift Together on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. If you think this could impact someone, please share the episode with them. And remember, life and work, it's a practice. Let's be sure to treat it that way. Until next time.